Our bodies are not an inconvenience. Our bodies are not shameful. Our bodies remember. Our bodies sync with the cycles of the universe. Our bodies mirror the natural world. Today, we listen again to the pulse beneath our skin, to the rise, the rest, the return, knowing we are not too much, we are not impure, we are the continuation of our Mother Earth. And so, thank you for joining me for this conversation today, learning our cycles, healing shame, reconnecting to our bodies for Black women healing. This is, as I was writing the post today on YouTube, this is a very taboo topic. And I got to be honest with y'all, I'm nervous, right? And that is something I've had to sit with, this information. Why does this feel so taboo when so many of us experience this, right? So many of us have menstrual cycles. And it just feels like this really weird thing that a lot of us go through, but we can't talk openly about it. And so, being the nerd that I am, right, kind of exploring why that might be, the different connections in history, the different messages about shame that are attached to menstrual cycles and periods. As I just learned researching this, right, period and menstrual cycle are two different things. So your period is part of your menstrual cycle, but it's your menstrual cycle is the full thing, which we'll get into. Um, and so, like these things that I didn't even know I'm having to educate myself about in my 30s, right? And to think about the shame that I carried. It was deep, right? It was very deep, starting when I first got my menstrual cycle, when it first began. All of this, whew, there's a lot of misinformation. And let me know if this resonates. Thank you for joining live. If you're here live, if you're watching the replay, thank you so much. Um, the level of shame, right, attached to our bodies is so deep, right? I remember having feelings of thinking I was gross, I was disgusting. This was something to be shamed about, right? To be hidden away, to not talk about, to keep quiet. And I just think about how that leads into all these different, right? It like branches off. That initial shame that we feel when our menstrual cycles first begin, it branches off, right? We carry that with us throughout our lives. And this is very real. Hey, Lori, thank you for being here. As always, always lovely to see you. Drell's Healing Garden Journey. Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Marissa in chat. Great to be here with you all. You too. Thank you for being here. So that's real, right? This level of shame, it's so deep, right? And so that's what I'll be talking about today. So thank you for joining me. I decided not to be on camera today to honor my energy levels, as I am helping my clients honor their energy levels. I've also realized I have to do the same with myself. And so being on camera did not feel energetically aligned today, but I am here on audio. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. I do want to start with just a few deep breaths. Taking a breath in here, exhaling, and another deep breath, inhaling here, and exhaling. Knowing that this is not a place of shame today, this is a place of power, right? For us to reclaim, for us to understand, for women and people who have menstrual cycles. So I do want to introduce myself. So I'm Marissa Price. I am a healing practitioner leaning into nervous system healing, somatic healing for Black women and femmes, trying to reclaim our power, right? To rise after the trauma we have experienced in different environments and really understand our power, right, on this earth. As I think back through my experiences as a girl, right, as a teenager, those were some rough years. And not really realizing the power that I had within me. And that led to a lot of different things happening. And when my menstrual cycle started, that was a huge part of it, right? That transition from, as we're taught, which I don't agree with, right? From being a girl in quotations to being a woman, that was a very rough transition. And now at this age, realizing I didn't receive the proper education around what was happening to my body, around what this meant for my energy levels, which we'll get into. Oh, thank you for this. I appreciate you. Your presence is just as impacting whether you're on video or audio, Marissa. I appreciate this. Thank you so much. This means a lot to me. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. Hey, Donna. Good to see you as always. Thank you for being here. Right. And so we carry this level of shame that stems from a lot of like a lack of education about our bodies, like what is happening. I remember that exact feeling that I had. I had to go back to 12 years old, right? I felt like kind of like my world was ending in a certain way. And I didn't have the proper education, like what is a menstrual cycle, right? What are my energy levels going to be like at different phases? This is something I'm having to learn for the first time in my 30s. I was not educated about this. And we'll get into some of the history. But this is real. This is real that so many of us experience. And so if you feel a level of shame or feeling like this is taboo to talk about, please know that you're not alone, because as I said, like I'm nervous talking about this. Like it feels like it's the most taboo thing to talk about. And it's just there's so many things connected to it, right? The reason why we feel these feelings, why it feels so like, is this okay to say? I'm still feeling that as I'm talking about it today. So know that you're not alone. So yes, it is Somatic October, right? And I've just labeled this month Somatic October myself to talk more about healing in our bodies, feeling at home in our bodies, breath work, visualization exercises. I will be hosting a healing circle on October 26th if you'd like to join us. It is sliding scale, and it's at 5 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, October 26th. I just linked it in the chat. If you're here live, it's also in the description section. But please join us. If you're even remotely curious about different ways to self-regulate through some of the things that we've already covered this month, right? Breath work, grounding, knowing that your body can be a safe place to return to, even if it has never felt like that before. That doesn't mean it's impossible, right? It's a series of steps that you take over time to rebuild this sense of trust with your body, that it's okay to slow down and it's okay to rest. It's okay to breathe deeply. Something that unfortunately has been off limits to a lot of us for a lot of our lives. So, yes. And it was also Period Action Day on October 11th. So, this is a worldwide day to basically like give us education, right? To advocate for the importance of understanding, again, our periods and menstrual cycles. So, all of these things kind of combine for this conversation today. So, we're here to learn, unlearn, reconnect, right? And so, we're not just talking about periods, but we're talking about how disconnection from our bodies has been used to disconnect us from our power. That's really the intention of today, right? So, I want to read this again that I started the conversation with as we get started. Our bodies are not an inconvenience, our bodies are not shameful. Our bodies remember. Our bodies sync with the cycles of the universe. Our bodies mirror the natural world. Today we listen again to the pulse beneath our skin, to the rise, the rest, the return, knowing we are not too much, knowing we are not impure, knowing we are the continuation of our Mother Earth. And so, just an intention, little poem to get started. Yes, Donna, I agree. Thank you for this. I feel that women should have time off work when we're on our cycles. Me too. Me too. Yes, thank you for this. And we'll get into the different energy levels, right? As I was kind of researching, like historically, this was a time like your period within your cycle, um, the menstruation phase of your cycle. Historically, right, prior to colonization, a time when people with periods would have time to off, like time off of work, of labor. It was to rest, like that was carved out to rest. And so trying to understand this, like you have to, I've had to go back to like colonization again, once again, it has to be said. How did we become disconnected from these things that we used to do? That a lot of us, as I'm realizing, we're feeling called to do again. That's because there's an ancestral memory there, right? Knowing that so many of us know that this does not feel right, right? I shouldn't be made to push through. During this time, I'm expected to kind of go against my body for this, right? Whatever's being dangled, right? Or being told to me that I have to work against my body to get, um, often in the form of resources, right? And it's really that insidious. So I appreciate you saying that. Okay, and a gentle reminder I do want to say, so this space offers education and body awareness, not medical advice. So everybody's rhythm is different. Please honor what feels right for you and seek professional care when needed. I did want to say that too. Okay. So I want to get into shame. And I had a wonderful guest on my channel, Megan Torres, a couple weeks ago. And she shared something that's I've really been sitting with. So guilt is when you feel like you did something wrong. Shame is when you feel like you're wrong. So guilt when you do something wrong. Shame when you feel like yourself, as a person, as a being, you are wrong. And you can see how deep that emotion is, right? Because it's not something that you can necessarily change if you feel that way. If you feel like it's you, your person, your being, there's something wrong, that's that deep emotion of shame that we feel, right? And it can sometimes feel like that feeling of being stuck, right? Where you can't move, you can't do anything that's calling to you because the shame just feels so heavy. Um, and so let's talk about the shame around menstrual cycles, right? The historical and cultural roots of menstrual shame run very deep. Colonization and patriarchy labeled menstruation as unclean, sometimes irrational. Ooh, that just brought up a lot. Yes, or inconvenient, right? Irrational. We see this in so many media messages, right? Are you PMSing? I can't tell you how many times I've heard that throughout my life, right? And it being like a connotation of something negative, not like genuinely like, are you experiencing PMS, right? But no, it being labeled as there's something wrong with you. You're being irrational, right? Your body's inconveniencing you from being able to produce, in quotations, to push through, to labor for other people, to treat yourself like a machine, right? All these things go back. And that's why, like, you have to talk about colonization and enslavement to understand the roots of why we feel this deep level of shame, of why so many of us are not educated on our menstrual cycles, right? How they mirror things like the moon, the lunar cycle, which I'll get into, right? As beings on earth. No, we are taught that we're just here for our labor. And so you can see the roots of this, right? Um, as you start to examine and even like research this on your own, they go very deep and they're connected to so many things. And as I said, in my 30s, just now educating myself on the different phases of the menstrual cycle, how it mirrors the lunar cycle, how much power exists when you realize that you're not supposed to have the same energy level all throughout the month. That's literally not how your body is operating. But that's what we're told, right? And so we experience this level of, I know I've experienced this shame around, why can't I just have the same energy level that I had last week? Well, my body's not, that's not what my body's meant to do. That's not how it's operating, right? I'm not a machine. I'm not a robot here to labor for other people without rest, without care. And that's again why we have to go to enslavement to understand, where did we get these messages? Where have we been disconnected and severed from our understanding of how our bodies operate? So that's important to keep in mind. So religious teachings, right, have taught separation from the body and spirit, right? And we see this messaging carrying through. And it's important, I think, as I've been leaning into understanding somatic healing, right? Your body is part of the whole. You can't overlook your body when you're on this healing journey, right? Which is continuous. There's never a point that you reach that you're like healed. It's a continuous journey. But if you overlook your body, you're missing a huge part. Healing doesn't just happen in the mind, right? The spirit, we know that trauma deeply impacts both of these things, spirit, mind, but it also impacts the body. And so getting back to an ancestral understanding of how we healed our bodies from what we've experienced is so important. But within this context that we're living in, again, we've been separated from our bodies. Right? We've been told that our bodies are shameful. They're unclean. And we see that message carrying through. Why is there so much shame around the topic of menstrual cycles when so many of us have them, right? We're just keeping kind of, it feels like this secret. Sometimes you whisper, right, to a friend. I know I had this experience. Like, do you have cramps too? Okay. Like, it has to be like, it feels like a secret that you can't say out loud. And we understand, like, now, right, through researching why that is. The silence around menstrual cycles is often passed through generations, right? So we receive the messaging, don't talk about it. Like, shh, don't tell anyone. Keep it hidden. And just to think about that messaging that we receive when our menstrual cycles first start, right? It's a very formative age. I was in middle school, right? I was 12. And so if you're experiencing this messaging around there's something wrong with your body, right? Don't talk about it, keep it a secret. How much of an impact that can have on you. When we talk about healing as adults, right? It's really healing what the younger versions of ourselves went through. And something that's been helpful for me, using your imagination to literally revisit that time when you received that message and correct it, right? In your mind. Now being your own advocate, right? Stepping in and saying to your younger self, that's not true, right? Actually, there's no shame around this thing that's happening to your body. And this is how we heal generationally, right? Refusing to repeat these messages that we have absorbed through survival often, but that don't serve us, right? That continue this cycle of shame and secrecy around something that our bodies naturally do. So the shame may show up today, right, as adults, feeling embarrassed by our cycles. We don't want to talk about it, right? We don't want to share maybe when something's wrong, right? We don't want to seek help or professional care because we don't even want to talk about it. We don't even want to mention it. The shame around the word menstrual cycle. the term, right? It feels shameful even saying it out loud. And so we see how that can prevent us, possibly, from raising our hand when something's wrong. It can look like working through pain instead of resting. If we are taught and told we are supposed to have the same energy level every single day, again, colonization, patriarchy has told us this, we're going to feel shameful when we don't have that energy level, when our bodies are telling us to rest. I was just thinking about my, like the media. Growing up as a girl, all the messages I received around pushing through, right? Pushing through when you're on your menstrual cycle, pushing through, not taking time to rest, right? Continuing to do all your regular activities. This messaging is just so flawed. The more that I realize this at this age, and I wish I would have had this level of education at that age, right? To really tell myself there's nothing wrong with you. And the fact that you're expected to push through and not honor your body's natural rhythm, that's the actual wrong thing, right? That's the wrong advice. The shame can show up like avoiding conversations about fertility, hormones, or reproductive health. Again, if there's so much shame around the term, we can't even say it out loud. How many things that impacts, right? That we should feel comfort with speaking about, right? But now these things are taboo. Now I can't talk about it. And so it's very, very deep when you think about the level of shame that exists around these things. Yes. Yes. Shame, secrecy, and silence. Thank you, Donna. Yes. Jamila says it's attached to uncleanliness. Yes. What a shame, because it's actually your body purging that unused lining blood that a woman's body prepares for a fertilized egg. What an amazing thing. Thank you for this. Yeah. It is attached to uncleanliness. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, right. It's called everything but menstrual. Example, time of the month, monthly visitor. That's bringing me back to memories. Yes. Our bodies are darn near hemorrhaging each month. That's a big deal. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. And to your point, it's called everything but what it is. The shame and stigma around something, again, that so many of us experience. Right. And again, the menstrual cycle is not just your period. Your period is just one part of your menstrual cycle. Your menstrual cycle is the entire month, right? The entire like 28-day cycle, or whatever length your cycle is. That's the entire, we're constantly on the cycle. We're just at a different part of it. And so yes, that's very real. That's bringing up so many memories. And again, as someone who is a truth teller, right? Saying these things out loud, I remember when I was growing up, and then that message came to me, right? You can't say that. You can't say that. You got to say a different term. But I didn't have that originally. So I was just saying it out in the open, right? And it's a process of socialization that we're told, oh no, that's a bad, right? That's a bad term. You can't say that out loud. That's unclean, right? That will lead to stigma. There's something wrong about this word, this term. Donna says even commercial advertisements of products indirectly say for us to push through our labor through. Thank you for this. Yes. That could be a whole other conversation because it's so important. The way the media reinforces these messages that we receive, that it's not okay for us to rest, that our bodies don't operate on a cycle, that we should have the same energy level every single day. And if not, there's something wrong with you. And so not only are we receiving these messages from family members, right? Um, People at school, now they're being reinforced by the media, which is everywhere. And so if you experience this level of shame around even saying period, a menstrual cycle, please know that all of these forces around us are trying to get us to feel that way. They're trying to get us to feel shame around our own bodies. And it's not you. When we internalize stigma, we tense our bodies, we may shrink, we may disconnect from the very wisdom that our bodies are constantly offering us. And healing can begin with awareness as the first step. Okay. And so I do want to share this graphic that I thought was really helpful. Let me see here. Okay. So you see all the phases of the menstrual cycle. Make sure it's sharing. Okay. Right. And so, as I said, like the period is just one phase of the menstrual cycle. We're constantly on the cycle. The cycle never stops. Right. So, all throughout the month, we're still within the menstrual cycle. That's how our bodies operate. It's a full body rhythm influencing our emotions, our energy, and our creativity. And again, this can vary based on your individual cycle, right? But the menstrual phase, days 1 through 5, typically the release phase. So your body is shedding and resetting. Somatically just means related to the body, right? Your energy is the lowest. The body is asking for rest, for stillness, and for reflection. Culturally, we have often been told to push through this time, right? Working against our bodies, overriding our bodies, which reinforces this level of disconnection that we feel and can impact things like self trust because we're operating against what our bodies are telling us to do. These extremely intelligent vessels that our life force is housed within, right, are trying to give us these messages all the time, but we've been socialized to ignore them, to push them down, to suppress them, and override, right? Keep going through, keep going, keep going. And so this can be helpful, right? Some exercise and rest during this phase of the cycle, low intensity aerobic exercise, walking, hiking, Pilates, yoga, different nutrition, right? Can be helpful. Iron rich foods, omega-3 fatty acids. This is something I'm entering into the nutrition aspect. And then mindset. So breathing exercises, journaling, and meditation can be helpful during this phase of the cycle. Okay, and so the follicular phase, typically days 6 through 14. So this is the rising phase, right? So hormones increase, energy returns, creativity blossoms. Somatically, this is a time for movement, inspiration, and new ideas to come to you. Emotionally, optimism can return, right? But if you have suppressed the feeling of rest that your body needed during the menstrual phase, this energy may feel frantic rather than fresh. And so we see like every phase of the cycle kind of impacts the next phase. So if you denied yourself rest, because again, we have been socialized to override what our bodies need during the menstrual phase, and you get to the follicular phase, this inspiration, movement, new ideas that you feel, it can feel frantic rather than like fresh, right? Rather than an awakening. And so this is why it's pivotal to honor our body's signals as much as possible, right? Because I know these environments and these systems, they do make it impossible sometimes. I have to say that. But carving out time as much as you can for yourself to honor what your body's trying to tell you is really a huge part of wellness, right? Holistic wellness overall. And so exercise and rest during this phase of the cycle, right? Challenging yourself, strength training, running, cycling, different nutrition may be helpful, protein, leafy greens, fermented foods. Mindset, starting new projects during this time can be a great thing to take on. Brainstorming, socializing, trying new things. Again, your energy is back, right? It's picking up. Your body is ready for new things, to create new things, for movement, for inspiration. So, all things to keep in mind. The ovulatory phase, typically around day 14 through 18 of the menstrual cycle. So, the peak, right? Fertility, radiance, outwardly expressive. Somatically, your body wants connection and communication. And so, this phase can mirror the summer of your cycle. So, the menstrual cycle can also mirror like the four seasons as well, right? With the menstrual cycle phase of the cycle being winter, follicular being spring, ovulation being summer, luteal being fall. And we see again how our bodies mirror nature, the natural cycles of nature, information that we have been intentionally cut off from. Right? A time to speak, create, share, and shine. In patriarchal systems, women were often punished or even hypersexualized for being visible and vibrant during this time, leading to the fear a lot of us have of being too much, doing too much. And so, exercise and rest during this phase of the cycle, right? Endurance workouts, dance, circuit training, nutrition wise, protein, fiber rich foods, antioxidants, your mindset during this phase. You may have peak energy during this time, right? So going on dates, socializing, speaking publicly, working on goals that you've set for yourself. And then the luteal phase. So typically days 19 through 28 of the menstrual cycle. So this is a slowing phase, right? The fall phase. Your body prepares for release once again. Energy turns inward, emotions may rise to the surface. This is a natural time for discernment. So your body is signaling to you what needs attention or change. And a tip here can just be to honor your need for boundaries during this time, for gentleness, for care, for space, and exercises that may be beneficial, strength exercises, weight training, swimming, yoga, walking, different nutritions, right? Calcium, B vitamins, protein, healthy fats, mindset. So completing tasks and projects, positive affirmations, and breathing exercises may be helpful during this part of the cycle. And so I want to check in if you are here live. Have you seen anything like this before? Because I know that this was new to me. I came across this probably about 3 years ago at this point, and just understanding the different phases of the menstrual cycle have been, it's been life changing, right? Because again, when you feel that level of shame that you should be having the energy to do this, have you checked, right? Which phase of your cycle you're in? Could you be at the luteal phase, right? And you're thinking that you should have the energy of your ovulation phase. So something to keep in mind with energy levels, wellness, right? Mental health. I think this is crucial for mental health. Let me take this banner down so y'all can see all the phases. But yeah, to understand, right, that we're not supposed to operate the same every single day because our bodies operate on a cycle. Marissa, hey, yes, correlating the cycle with the seasons has been very helpful for me. I just started learning this last year. It's still very new to me. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Hasn't it? It's been the same for me too. Yes. So again, winter, right? Visualizing that as the menstrual phase of the cycle, follicular, the springtime, ovulation, the summertime, and then luteal, the fall. Right. So just to envision it like that, like our bodies go through four seasons every single month. But we're taught, right? We're socialized that we're supposed to be at summer, spring or summer, the entire cycle. That's not how our bodies operate. And so you see the disconnection at play when we're having this level of shame, of feeling like something is wrong with us, of feeling, in quotes, lazy, right? We may be at a different phase of our cycle. Hello, Ariane Tiana. Thank you for joining. I learned about this through Pinterest, and I now use an app called Lively that's centered more holistically to track our current phase. Thank you for sharing that. Ooh, I'm gonna write that down. Thank you. Yeah, it can be helpful just to have this information for yourself, right? And to share. I think that's something I would love to do. It's to share this information with girls, with young girls, because I did not have this, right? I am okay. I can actually share the link to it. Should be hold on 1 second. There's the link to the slide. Yes, our cycle is also connected to the moon, so it's important as women to be in tune with the phases of the moon as well. Absolutely. That's my next point. So thank you so much. Let me see if I can share this next tab. Okay. Yeah, so our cycle's rhythm also mirrors the moon's phases. So waxing, full, waning, and new moon. A reminder to us that this rhythm that our bodies go through is ancient and natural. It's not a flaw, something to be ashamed of, or an inconvenience. So the goal is truly to see your body cycle as part of the Earth's, right? We're connected to the Earth, we are nature, and the cosmos. We're not separate from the Earth, right? From the moon. We're part of it, we're an integral part of it. And so you'll see here on the slide that I'm sharing, right? Phase one, the menstruation phase of the cycle, new moon, rest, reflection, evaluation. Phase two, the follicular phase, waxing phase of the moon. So planning, brainstorming, new beginnings. Phase three, summer, ovulation, full moon, communicating, collaborating, attracting, being out there, right? Talking to people, interacting. Um, Phase four, the luteal phase or waning phase of the moon. Focus, details, finishing projects, putting in the work, right? And this is also the fall, if that can be helpful too, to envision it as the seasons. Our bodies go through 4 seasons every single month. Oh, thank you for sharing this, Donna. Yeah, my cycle was connected to the weather, specifically when it rained. Interesting. Ooh, I appreciate you sharing that. Um, and that's like a prompt for me to do some reflection in journaling. Again, once you have this information, the connections that can be made, right, to the different ways that our bodies have already synced with the natural cycles of the earth and the cosmos. So I think this is often presented or thought of as like kind of out there too, when it's really like, no, this is real. Just as we experience 4 seasons, just as we see the moon, we look up and we see the moon at different phases with our eyes, right? That's the same thing that our bodies go through. But when we have been disconnected from this wisdom, from information, from an understanding of how our bodies operate, it's going to feel out there, right? It's going to maybe like spark a fear response or like trying to push it away because it feels so new until you remind yourself again, the 4 seasons, the moon, your different energy levels, if you're in tune with your body throughout the month, that it's not going to be the same every single day. And then you can slowly start to let this information in, right? We have been disconnected from our understanding of our bodies over a period of centuries. And so it's going to feel kind of uncomfortable at first. Like, this isn't what I was taught. Right? And through colonization, through enslavement, we've been disconnected from this. So, yeah, it's not what we're taught. It absolutely is not. Because, right, the intention is to disconnect us from our bodies, which is why somatic healing is so important. Getting back into our bodies, feeling safe, feeling at home, knowing how they operate, knowing the different tools that exist that we come equipped with, that mirror the earth, right? That mirror the moon. It's so important. Marissa says, learning all this has definitely made my cycle feel magical. I start my cycle with the full moon, and it's so cool. Thank you for sharing this. That's beautiful. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, and something I've had to overcome, right? Because, or work through, this idea that it's an inconvenience, right? That it's something like, ugh. Like, no, if you take a different perspective, as Marissa just shared, like, I'm in tune with the moon cycles right now. This is the new moon phase of my cycle, right? This is my winter time. So, of course, I need to slow down. Spring will come around, right? Part of this is like trusting in what's to come, too. Spring's going to come around, summer's going to come around, but right now I'm in winter. So I need to rest. I need to take time for myself, right? And you can tap in to, as you shared, Marissa, like the magic of that. Instead of how we've been taught that this is something shameful, dirty, can't talk about it. As we discussed, that creates a lot of different issues around our health. When we can't even say the word, we can't even ask for help then. We can't talk about it with other people who may have experienced it because we feel that level of shame, that it's so taboo that I can't even utter the word period. I can't even say menstrual cycle. And so I'm not going to feel safe to say when something is wrong, right? Or when something's off, or when I need assistance with something, or when I need advice, right? From someone who has already gone through this. And we see the ways that this shame kind of acts to suppress sometimes community connection, because we're not sharing this information with each other because we've been taught that it's shameful. It goes so deep. Oh, yes. And patriarchy, too, has labeled it as an inconvenience to men, as if it's their body that cycle and missed me with it. Yes. I appreciate you sharing that. Yes. Yes. I was just listening to lyrics the other day. I'm like, wow. Wow. So that's how we're talking about periods and cycles. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I appreciate you bringing that up because that is so real. Yep. So again, if you're not here for, if you're not available for how I want your body to be used, then something's wrong with you, right? Then I'm going to make you feel ashamed about your body. If you're not available to be used how I want you to be used. And so we see all of these like intersecting systems of oppression and how they're at play to try to make us feel shameful about what our bodies naturally do. And so the shame that you're feeling, like, please don't feel like that's just you. These are all these messages circulating around us throughout our entire lives. These started before I can even remember. And now, again, in my 30s, having to unlearn, release that messaging, understand where it was coming from, rooted in my oppression, and come back to the truth, right? The real understanding that we actually had before. So this is not new. This is a return to what we used to have prior to colonization. prior to enslavement, we had this understanding about our bodies. We understood that they operated in sync with the moon. And so we're talking about a centuries level, right? Period of being disconnected from this knowledge, this information, this wisdom. And that's why it can feel uncomfortable, right? Kind of awkward, kind of like, am I able to say this? It's so deeply rooted. And again, passed through generations after generations. A lot of us are, no pun intended, like cycle breakers, right? We're cycle breakers, saying like, this is not going to continue. This is a message that was passed down to me, that this is shameful, that I can't talk about it, that I need to hide it. And I'm unlearning that. So I'm not passing that on to future generations. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay. So, y'all. So, as we kind of wind down, let me go back to my notes. I do have just a somatic practice that may be helpful as we are reconnecting to the wisdom that lives in our bodies, to affirm to ourselves that our bodies are divine, rhythmic, whole, in sync with the earth and the cosmos. So, wherever you are, just begin by arriving in your body, however you're showing up. If it feels comfortable, placing a hand over your heart and a hand over your womb, or wherever feels grounding for you. Taking a deep breath in here, exhaling, sighing if you need to, letting your shoulders drop, letting your jaw unclench, letting yourself take up space, knowing that you don't need to be anywhere else. This body, the body that you're in right now, is your temple. So bringing awareness to your breath. If it feels comfortable, imagining your womb space, imagining a warm light glowing there. As you breathe, letting that light expand, soft, gentle, radiant. With each exhale, imagine that you're releasing the old stories, the old narratives, the ones that said your body was too much, too messy, being too emotional, or even impure. Like these stories were false. And they were never yours to hold. These were stories rooted in our oppression, not our stories. So allow them to go, release with every breath that you take, let them dissolve. Just taking a few breaths here, inhaling, exhaling, sighing if you need to. If it feels comfortable, whispering these words to yourself, either silently or out loud, if they feel true for you. My body is not a burden. My body is a bridge. My body is a connector. My rhythm is sacred. My flow is remembrance. And just feel these affirmations land in your body, letting your breath anchor them. And taking a final breath in here through your nose, exhaling through your mouth, sighing if you need to. And feel free to offer gratitude to your body for its patience, its wisdom, its resilience. And when you're ready, if you close your eyes, you could gently open them or lift your gaze, knowing that your body is sacred. And so as we wind down, I do want to mention that, again, I'm facilitating a somatic healing circle, finding calm in chaos, Sunday, October 26th, 5 p.m. Eastern. And the replay will be available if you can't attend live. And here's the link to register. It's also in the description section as well. And so I would love to see you there if you'd like to come join us and just learn, right? This is very beginner friendly for different ways to tap into the healing powers of our bodies through things like breath work, gentle movement, slowing down, allowing ourselves to rest. Again, part of that can be education about how our bodies operate, because we've been separated from that knowledge, that understanding, that wisdom that we once had. And so bringing it back, how do our bodies operate? How could that be informing the different energy levels that we have throughout the month, right? And so, yes, I'm going to share one more graphic here. Let's see. Okay, let me share this real quick. Right. And so just to recognize that periods are not a source of shame, as we mentioned, period and menstrual cycle are also not the same thing. Your period, or the menstrual phase of your cycle, is just one part. There are 3 other parts. Similar to the seasons, the 4 seasons, similar to the phases of the moon. Everyone should be able to manage their periods safely and with dignity, right? The menstrual health education truly empowers, right, those of us who have a menstrual cycle, right, to educate ourselves about what is happening with our bodies and how that is informing our wellness overall. And so, let me get back to my notes. Right, I just want to leave you with, if you've ever carried silence, shame, or pain around your cycle, or even talking about it, asking for help, advocating, right, for something you may be experiencing, know that it's not your fault if you feel that level of shame around even mentioning it. As we discussed, the roots run very deep, and it is, right, an effort that you can turn inward. I think that's how I started, right? So reflecting on the messages that I received, beginning to release them, uproot them from your being, to intentionally not pass them on to other people. I think that's so important as we talk about girls, that they're not receiving these messages that unfortunately a lot of us received around menstrual cycles, periods, being shameful, dirty, right? That unlearning can begin with you, with us. And so that is, yeah, that is it for today. Thank you, Marissa. I love the affirmations. Thank you. You're so welcome. You are so welcome. I appreciate you all being here. Again, this was like a test run, right? Because I'm thinking, I do want to share my email list as well, because I'm thinking about hosting something or creating something around this, because I think it's so essential that we understand how our bodies operate. And so if you're not already on my email list, you can join my email list here. In the event I do create something, or something specifically around being in tune with our menstrual cycles. right? So just to know that your body is sacred, your rhythm is wise, you are allowed to rest, to release, and to rise again, right? Just as our bodies are prompting us to do naturally. And so I appreciate you being here. If you are watching live, thank you so much for being here. Please like this video if it resonated. Please subscribe to my channel for content around healing, right? Liberation for Black women and femmes going forward. And yeah, join us on October 26th, 5 p.m. Eastern for my healing circle, providing different beginner-friendly tools to begin to connect with our bodies, reconnect, understand how they operate, breathe deeply, invite in gentle movement, allow ourselves to rest, all of these essential parts of life that we have been unfortunately cut off from for a very long time. And that's why it can feel uncomfortable to reawaken it, right? But little over little, I mean, little by little, right? Incorporating these into your life can really allow you to prioritize your wellness overall. And yeah, thank y'all for being here. I'm trying to think of, am I going live? I don't think I have it scheduled, but I will be back next week. And so please subscribe to my channel. And I appreciate you being here. And yeah, thank y'all so much. Until next time. Bye, y'all. Thank you.